Hello, kia ora, g'day, I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia forecast right through until Wednesday of next week, and there's plenty to talk about. We've got wind, thunderstorms, some areas of rain, and of course the excessive heat, followed by a cool change or a cold change coming through on Sunday. So let's try and make sense of it all. We've got thunderstorms, plenty of thunderstorms in the tropical parts of Australia today, and a few thunderstorms coming into South Australia. The leftovers of the tropical cyclone still producing rain and showers and plenty of cloud through southern and southeastern parts of Western Australia. If you live in Perth or Geraldton, I'm not going to be talking much about you in today's video. Heads up, not much is happening on the western side of Australia. We've got plenty of cloud that's brushing South Australia with a few showers around Port Lincoln and Kangaroo Island, although I don't imagine it was very much for most of you. A bit of cloud into Victoria. There may be a shower or two coming through with that. And Tasmania also has plenty of cloud. Out at sea, Norfolk Island seeing some thunderstorms, and we're monitoring a tropical depression up here, which may drift down towards Norfolk Island over the next couple of days, although it's going to run into the high pressure belt near New Zealand over the Tasman Sea as well. So while it looks a little bit ominous, it's likely to fall apart. On this map, this also shows the wind strength in the brighter shading. So windiest weather south of Tasmania, but you can see that westerly flow that will lift up temperatures in some inland areas today, and the leftovers of the tropical cyclone drifting further southwards, and between that low pressure zone inland and the high pressure zone building to the south out at sea, we've got a squash zone. So winds are coming from off the coastline, from off the sea into the coastline, dropping temperatures in some areas, not quite as hot if you're on the coastline. So let's have a look at the temperatures, because the excessive heat is around and it's in this big pink purple blob. So that highlights temperatures that are over 44 degrees and in some cases over 48 degrees, so very hot. Canberra today, up around 40 degrees on the edge of that heat. As we jump to Thursday, notice how it moves further inland. So a westward sort of movement and a southern movement. It's sort of moving westwards and drifting further down into South Australia, northwest corner of Victoria and along northern parts of Victoria as well. But 48 degree temperatures and above possible as we go through Thursday. Lower temperatures over here in Western Australia because of all the cloud cover and slightly cooler airflows coming off the sea being dragged into it all. As we go to Friday, the heat sinks southwards, further into parts of South Australia, further down towards Adelaide and further southwards into Victoria. Melbourne's temperatures also go up, but again, the coastal areas of Victoria may not be as hot as those further inland. In fact, they won't be. So further inland, you've got that excessive heat, but on the coastline, not what I would call excessive. And by Saturday, you can start to see that southerly change arriving into South Australia. The big pink purple blob of heat goes further northwards, although it's still around Victoria going into Saturday. But look at Sunday, what a change. As that southerly change comes in, colder weather in Tasmania, cooler weather into Victoria, and the heat goes up into northern parts of New South Wales and southern and southwestern parts of Queensland. So keep up to date with the Bureau of Meteorology for all the official warnings and watches that are out at the moment. So let's go back to the usual weather maps. Here we are on Thursday, the tropical depression forming or dropping southwards from Vanuatu, close to close to Norfolk Island, away from New Caledonia, and high pressure here in the Tasman Sea is going to pull that low pressure zone apart. But rain and high humidity coming in for those of you on Norfolk Island. The wind is around on Thursday here. So on top of the excessive heat, wind is another feature, but south of that windy weather, where the red line basically is, that's where the slightly cooler temperatures or slightly lower temperatures will be around. High pressure east and west of Tassie, light winds for you, and mostly dry in many of these areas. South Australia, Victoria, the ACT, New South Wales, and a large part of Queensland as well, also looking quite dry, but we've still got that line of convergence with heavy rain and thunderstorms in southern parts of Western Australia. Falls apart to some degree on Friday. Will still be a few showers there, but it does fall apart. The heat, as the red arrows indicate, sinks much further southwards on Friday. Temperatures go up in many places, but again, the very coastal part of Victoria, maybe a few degrees or even 10 degrees lower than those of you further north of Melbourne. Hot weather across New South Wales for the most part, certainly into the ACT again. And we've got a few showers, coastal showers into Queensland. Otherwise, really not a lot of wet weather around on Friday other than the Northern Territory. On Saturday, thunderstorms again around the top end and Catherine and sinking further southwards down around Alice Springs. Not as much though further south into the Northern Territory. And you got that hot weather still around South Australia on Saturday, and with building high pressure way out here southwest of Perth and southwest of Western Australia. As that sort of bulldozes in over the Great Australian Bight, it pulls in a southerly. So it's going to be windy between lower pressure inland over the southeast and higher pressure that is building to the south. That's why we've got an easterly through Victoria and a southeasterly wind that is kind of strong through some parts of South Australia. Elsewhere, apart from a few isolated thunderstorms around the ACT and New South Wales, mostly around the Great Dividing Range, there are some large dry areas. Now Sunday does see a change, or rather feel a change. As that high pressure zone moves in, the red arrow indicates that that heat is moving northwards. So a refreshing change into Victoria, southern parts of New South Wales, and a large part of South Australia. Noticing that temperature down, take a look at your local temperatures in your local forecast. You will see that temperature drop arriving on Sunday. If you're in Hobart or south of Hobart, you could argue it will be cold by the end of Sunday, just like New Zealand. Unsettled weather carries on this summer. Here is the next southerly change with the polar boundary nearby. So between low pressure around the New South Wales-Queensland border and high pressure building over the Great Australian Bight, squash zone produces that wind, but it also produces showers and thunderstorms, and that could move around still. We'll lock that in more detail hopefully tomorrow and going into Friday, but we could see some showers and thunderstorms. The pale blue area, as you see in large parts of Australia, means you've got the risk of those clouds building up, but not everybody in that area will get wet weather. By Monday, low pressure stays in the same area, perhaps moving a little further into Queensland now, fair bit of low pressure around there, and as high pressure balloons out now into the Tasman Sea, that squash zone moves around. So you've got northeasterlies and northerlies around New South Wales and around the ACT, curving around as an easterly into Victoria, where it will be quite brisk, especially closer to the mountains. Could be some strong gusts, in fact, close to the mountains, but lighter winds over Bass Strait and Tassie. That wet weather zone that you see into New South Wales is likely to still move around a bit, and that is because the shape of the high pressure zone here, you know, if it breathes in, it moves out, shrinks a wee bit, everything changes, just subtle changes, right? So we'll be monitoring that. We'll update the rain map again tomorrow for you to see where we expect some of that wet weather to eventually end up. So that's something to look forward to, I guess, if you need the rain. And around the Gulf of Carpentaria and into the Northern Territory, we've got this low pressure zone, another one, which moves further inland on Tuesday with the potential of 200 millimetres of rain in 24 hours. So this far out, it's not locked in, but it's worth keeping an eye on. That'll affect the far north of Queensland, north of Cairns, and inland parts of Queensland now seeing thunderstorms building up, some better rainfall potential, 30, 40 millimetre downpours. And you know, some of you might even go higher than that under those downpours. And look at New South Wales and the ACT, a chance of proper rain coming through. Again, if you really desperately need rain, don't lock this in fully yet. It's still going to move around a bit, but the potential is certainly there going into next week. The heat is sinking southwards again into South Australia. A cooler breeze over here in southern parts of Western Australia, but not overly cool in Perth. It'll be quite warm still, although the proper heat, you know, the 40-degree heat is north of you, up around Carnarvon. That's where you'll be seeing those higher temperatures. And our final map for Wednesday still shows another day of wet weather potential. Now this may not be rain all day long. It could come in the form of thunderstorms that pop up during the day. This far out, some of these downpours are really hard to confirm that they're going to happen, but you're seeing rainfall totals here in 24 hours of up to 80 millimetres, so that could be extremely welcome in some areas that are desperate for rain. So we'll have to keep an eye on what goes on here with this line of wet weather that goes all the way up to the tropical northern parts of the Northern Territory, where there is still, by the way, low pressure off the coast of the Kimberley and the Pilbara as well, and another low pressure zone out here around Victoria and Fiji. Side note, all that low pressure in the tropics that goes from Western Australia past Fiji, in fact it goes to French Polynesia, it's a 10,000 kilometre belt of low pressure that we're monitoring to see if any one of these lows ends up becoming a tropical cyclone. But for now, it doesn't appear that we've got tropical cyclone risks, but we do have a lot of low pressure in the northern half of Australia and around New South Wales going into the next week. So there we go. That is all from me for today. I'll be back again tomorrow. We'll update you further on the temperatures, the excessive heat, the cold change coming on Sunday, and who has the better chances of rain. Thanks for joining me. See you tomorrow, Thursday.